record on this computer so I can fry my motherboard here. Did everyone get to watch the informational video, by the way? Anybody, I guess the better question is, did anybody not get to watch the informational video? I know, Bonnie, you were trying to get it over to your team. I couldn't get it downloaded from this particular computer because it was on Facebook Live. So I had issues with that. So maybe this will be a substitute for being able to get it to them. And I know, obviously some of your folks are joining this call as well. And so I'll go over that information again. And that way, as we start this conversation off, people will have all the information that they'll need. And excuse my scratchy voice. I had a call with my team last night, and then I did a Facebook Live before that. And then I went to sleep late, and now I'm up early. And so I don't sound awesome this morning. Or unless you like a sexy smoker's voice, then I probably sound really good. But other than that, I probably don't sound so great. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. First off, thank you all for taking the time to join. I know some of you are either taking some time away from your families or from dinner or whatever have you, so I greatly appreciate it. For those of you who are not doing that, thank you for being here anyway. We're gonna jump in and we're gonna talk about the, right now we're calling it the OpCity Seller Lead Gen Program. We haven't obviously come up with a defined name for it as of yet, but the idea behind this is that we want to make sure that we're building it out for you as agents. Ryan should be joining the call as well. Ryan and I have been partners in the past and have done a lot of work together. So he's going to have a lot of input on this because this is actually his seller side of things, and he understands that a lot better than I do because I mostly focus on buyers, but want to help in building out the back end of this whole system. And that's part of the processes that I really enjoy, is making sure that things connect the way they should be connected, right? And Ryan, are you on the call right now? I can't tell if you are or not. I know you and I text this morning. Let me text him now. Again, as you're coming in, make sure you mute yourself. All right, there's Ryan. Awesome. He's connecting now.
All right, let's see here.
There he goes. Hey, what's up, Ryan?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. I was just telling folks about you and the back end of the seller stuff, and you running the seller side of things, and I'm coming in to help with kind of the build out and putting things together and the systems together. But you're the mastermind behind the seller stuff. So I didn't want to get started without you jumping in, of course, so that if people have specific questions for the lead things, that the lead items, you'd be able to answer those questions.
Yeah. Happy to be here. Love nerding out on this stuff. So excited to hear questions and see what we can put together.
Awesome. So what I'll go ahead and do, let's see, somebody just said, my peeps are having a problem with getting in. I had to forward the link to them, but not working from forward link. Let's see, who said that? Bonnie. Bonnie, let me get you the information for this really quick so that you can send it over to them. You can try again with this particular link. And then if they need the passcode, because they might need a passcode, there's the passcode. And if they need a participation ID, here's a participation ID. So anybody that you want to join the call, you can feel free to send them this link as well. What I'm going to go ahead and do, again, if you're coming in, make sure you just mute yourself so that we don't have a whole bunch of background noise that's interrupting the conversation, because I want this to be an in-depth conversation. I also want it to be an interactive conversation so that everybody gets the information that they need on this process to understand exactly what we're building out and what we're trying to accomplish for you as agents, right? So as we talk about this, the main thing that I want people to walk away with as an idea is that for years as real estate agents, and even whenever I started, I guess, 3 or 4 years ago, and even before that, whenever we were working just as a marketing company, we've seen people paying an absorbent amount of money for leads, right? And you can raise your hand if you are one of those human beings. It's just fine, right? As long as you're making money doing it. The problem has been that the money continues to increase for the for the leads, right? So the cost of a lead. And so as we're sitting back and we're thinking about this, and Ryan does a great job with the seller lead generation, and that's why he gets paid so well, right? But as we're thinking about this process, we're looking at it from, again, mute yourself if you're coming in, that'd be great. We're looking at it from the side of how do we scale this to help not just 50, 60, 100 agents, but help thousands upon thousands of agents, right? And not only help these agents and help you all as agents, but also put processes in place where you literally just wake up to people that you may go on a listing appointment with, right? And so with that being said, we wanted to do it at a cost that is effective for everybody. If $99 is a stretch for you, you're probably on the wrong call or maybe even the wrong business. I'm just an upfront human being. I don't know how to be in any other way. You need to work at making more money doing something else so that you can actually be in this business, or do the free things first so that you're making more money so that you can increase your business, right? And I'm all about free. If I can find a way to make more money doing things free. I had a call with somebody the other day who wanted to pay me money. And I was like, look, I think you're new. Don't pay me any money. Here's some strategies. Go do that first, right? And so what I want you to know is, as you're coming to this call, this is not like a money grab for us. And so anybody who's coming to this call thinking that, please leave the call, because I'm not that type of human being. And I don't think Ryan's that type of human being either, right? So make sure that's very clear, that we don't make money until you actually make money, right? And so, and those of you who know me know that about me. I will lose money before and help people before I even make any money, right? And I'm okay with that. So with that out of the way, knowing that this is not a money grab for us, what we're looking at doing is creating a program that will battle things like Zillow and Realtor.com. And the idea is that a lot of agents are complaining about Zillow and they're complaining about Realtor.com and the cost of things continuing to increase. They're stealing your seller leads or your listings and then marketing those and then selling them back to you as buyers. Could everybody agree with that? That's typically what most agents are complaining about right now. And then Zillow's buying up all these other things like Showtime and all this other stuff, right? And so agents haven't found a way to actually fight that. And so what we're doing essentially is we're helping you fight that battle as yet another marketing company, but I think we're going to be doing it the right way. That's, at least that's our hopes, and that's what it should look like. It should be. And so we say, okay, these agents are all complaining, but the action behind their complaints is nil for the most part. So what if we put together a program that allows them to spend very little money upfront to gain their listings back? And then hopefully you don't go back and you get those listings back to Zillow and start the whole process over again, and now they're making more money off of you because now you're having to pay for your buyers. But we're saying, let's group these agents together. They're complaining about Zillow and Realtor.com and allow them to battle back. And so what I mean by that is, you as agents will be able to join other agents in your own market to create a budget of ad spend to then generate leads for yourself and for them, right? And so you have to really think big picture as you look at this particular process, because if you're thinking small and you're thinking, $99 is not going to go a long way, you're thinking the wrong way, in my opinion. You have to be thinking, okay, a group of 10 agents at $99 becomes about $1,000, roughly $990. That isn't a ton of money in my perspective, but it's enough money to start making some damage, right? So making some headway on things. And so I have some talking points here that I'm going to hit to make sure that we cover those, and then I'll open up for questions. But the $990, as we look at that process per agent, that allows you to spend roughly $1,000 in ad spend. And Ryan, you can correct me if I'm wrong on the numbers here, because I was just doing some basic math on what I thought and what we've seen in the past on lead count. But $990, depending on your lead cost at 10 leads or $10 per lead, is about 9 leads per agent, right? So that's at $10 per lead, so $990 or $1,000. And then if in some markets, it's going to be $2 per lead. So that comes out to about 49 leads per agent or 495 leads total. So there's going to be variance because each market's going to be different. Southern California, leads are going to be way more expensive. Let's say somewhere around New Orleans, leads are going to be super cheap, right? Ryan, would that be a correct statement?
Yeah. I mean, I see variation, and usually that variation tracks with the price points and competitiveness of the market. So same markets where you're
Wait
gonna
a minute.
pay Zillow more for a lead. It's same thing when we're generating Facebook leads.
Yeah, so yeah, the variance, as Ryan said, is going to depend on your actual market itself. So if your market is expensive, like Southern California, versus somewhere like Tennessee, in a small town in Tennessee, of course, then your leads are going to be a lot less, right? Which means your closings are going to be less. But again, making headway and having a group set of budget to spend is going to be, I think, a big thing as long as we continue to build to thousands of agents. So to break down the business side of things, so you kind of get an idea what that looks like, we're looking at this as a possibility for us as a company, because agents have been asking for this for years. How do I get lead generation without paying a lot of money up front, and I'm willing to pay money on the back end? And that's why a lot of you are joining this call, right? And so this is that exact model, and the difference is going to be it's for seller leads. I would probably say that the majority of you have been on calls with marketing companies, and they're selling you buyer leads. And on the back end, they're saying you might get some seller leads. Raise your hand if that's been the conversation you've had in the past. Probably 100% of you, right? So what we're saying is we're going to generate seller leads with the possibility of you getting buyer leads, right? And somebody just said all the time. Yeah, it's all the time. So you have to reframe your mind thinking, okay, lead generation for buyers is way different than lead generation for sellers. Because with a buyer, you have one transaction that could happen. With the seller, you have multiple transactions that can happen, right? You could list the house. You could then take the seller and show them another house. You could also be at the open house and get a buyer from that, right? So there are multiple things that can happen from that transaction. So you have to think differently than a buyer lead, right? And not saying that you can't get referrals from buyers, because you can, right? So, and same thing for sellers. So as we look at this process, we're saying, all right, we know that we can generate anywhere from $10 leads down to $2 leads, which could be fantastic in a lot of your markets. The problem is, or the issue is, a lot of you will only be spending $99. And so what we need to do is create pods of 10 agents in each market. And so I know Bonnie and her side, I think you guys already had within like 24 hours, like 5 people in your market already interested, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So it's not going to be difficult to recruit agents. And I don't like the word recruit so much, but to get agents to be interested in this program. And I'll create a video for you to be able to send out to them whenever they're interested. The process that I'm looking at from the business side of things is saying, and this is a very important part of it, is I know you as agents have so many other things on your plate that you're not going to go out and recruit agents for this process. Would everybody agree with that? Like, you've got way too many other things going on, most of you. And so you got contracts, you got showings, you got listings, you got marketing, you got whatever appointments your office is holding, and meetings. So my thing is, Laura says, I'm willing to buy the whole pod, which we'll talk about that later as well. And we'll open that up to questions. But my thing is, I have a team of virtual assistants, right? And so as we look at this process, I said, okay, I know the agents are going to be busy doing these other things. I want to be able to help you get new agents into this pod, your pod, to help start marketing in your market, right? And use my virtual assistants to do that. And so essentially giving you somebody to help you do that is going to take away from what I normally do. But I believe in this so much that, again, I'm willing to lose money right now in order to gain money on the back end, right? And so essentially what would happen is I'd say, hey, like Laura's on, or whoever, I'll just pick out name Jerry, say, hey, look, this is what's going to happen. We're going to go in and to your Facebook, and we're going to go in and we're going to make a post that says, hey, looking for the best local real estate agent in whatever Facebook group. And so what we all know, if you've been a part of a Facebook group and you've not been living under a rock, is there are going to be 250 plus people that either recommend an agent or the agent themselves is going to comment. And so that allows us to then open up a conversation. And I say us, the virtual assistant. The virtual assistant is going to go in and say, hey, thanks for connecting. The reason that I wanted to connect with you is, I know that we're trying to battle Zillow and these different things. Here's something that I've been, trying to work on. Of course, this will be a lot more elegant whenever it's written out. But here's something we've been trying to work on to generate seller leads and listing leads. Would love for you to take a look at it and tell me if you're interested. And then you'll just send them the video, right? And so we're not trying to do a bait and switch on these folks. We're just trying to make sure that we get the information out there, because I have a feeling, just like you, whenever you saw the information, there are going to be a lot of people interested. And I think that's going to make waves in our industry, and it's going to disrupt things like Zillow and these other companies. The difference is this is going to be for the agents, right? And so my hope is that as we continue to grow this, that you see that we're doing the right thing by you as an agent, right? And again, we don't make money until the back end. So we'll get to that point next. Does anybody have a problem if I use my virtual assistants to help you grow your pod? Anybody have any questions about it? I know some of you on this call that have actual your own personal virtual assistants through us. So you kind of know what that process looks like. They're very trustworthy human beings that we hire. So it doesn't look like anybody's commenting or saying anything as of right now. And by the way, you can unmute yourself if you do have a comment. Okay, so our virtual assistants will help you go out and find these agents. The reason that's important is because you have to have your pod completely built out in order for us to start marketing in your market. Otherwise, there's not enough money in that process for us to actually be able to do much with $99, right? And so that's why the virtual assistant is going to be something that we offer. As the virtual assistant recruits your 10 agents, your pod is in full, then we'll start the marketing. What happens when the marketing starts is all your leads will come to you. And of course, these agents can be from any brokerage, right? The leads will start coming in round robin. So every agent will get a lead. It will go through 10, and then it'll come back to number 1. And so that's the goal right now. Maybe later on we'll switch 10 and 1 or move agents around throughout the pod throughout different months. But right now, I think the most fair way to do it is just send leads in round robin. Is everybody okay with that? Yes. Okay. Looks like everybody's okay. And so again, that's going to be anywhere from 9 leads per agent up to 49 leads per agent, depending on the market. And so for us as a company, we're saying, okay, we know that at this point, OpCity as a company is in some markets is charging up to 50% per transaction, right, on a referral fee. And so that was one of the questions. Will you guys be charging a referral fee on the back end? Yes, that's the only way we can make money, right? And so we'll be charging, and Ryan and I will kind of work more on this idea and look at the numbers, but we'll be looking at somewhere between 25 to 35% is what we're looking at. And so what I want you to do is I want you to do the math on that. So let's say, for example, you stay with us for an entire year. And right now we don't have any contracts or anything like that, because that's, we'll talk. I want you guys to give your input on that. But you spend $99 for the year. That's like $1,200, just shy of $1,200. You close 1 transaction. All you're doing is you're just waiting for leads to come in. And again, mind you, these are listing leads. These are not seller leads. These are not buyer leads. So $1,200 to get 1 closing, right? Let's say that's how the math works out. So it's nine leads per month. That's 108 leads. Surely, based on most information with lead sources, every 100 leads you should be getting a closing. So $1,200 to get 1 listing, right? Which could possibly turn into a buyer, or 588 leads to get 1 listing. Surely at $1,200, that's worth it to most of you, right? And so as you look at that math, that investment is not a heck of a lot of money to be able to have these leads coming into your basket, right? And so somebody said that's about the same as we pay to an agent for a referral and the brokerage. Yeah, so it's essentially the same thing, right? So only difference is now you're going to be getting these on a daily basis, hopefully. So we'll have somebody, either I'll go reinstate my license, or we'll have somebody on staff that will be our agent of record. That's how we'll get paid, is by having that person, that agent on record will be in contract with us, and they'll be the ones that are getting, the company will be getting paid, but the referral fee will go through them to make it work. So obviously legally we'll make it all work out. Ryan, I don't know if you have any statements or questions that you want to add to that particular.
Well, I noticed a couple other questions in the chat. I guess the time zone issue. I mean, everyone in the pod will be in the same market, and so it'll be the lead delivery will be for the time zone for the market. And then I also noticed are you willing to, if you're willing to put up 990 to get started, can we do that? Can we do it without 10 agents in the pod? That's something that the idea of offering, share of the market, or like, depending on the size of the market, how many agents could be in the market while still getting enough leads. I think that Joseph, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're in agreement at this point that the best way to start this out is to keep it kind of simple and consistent, and then make sure that everything is operating the right way, and then start to take a look at these other avenues.
Yeah, I think that was a good question, by the way, whoever asked it. And so, yeah, I agree. I think that's, and I'm agreeing with you, Ryan, and we kind of had that conversation, is we don't want to add a ton of complexity to start off with. I think a lot of companies that start that way typically fail because they're trying to do too many things at once. We want this to be successful, not only for us, but for you, right? And so, yes, it seems fantastic to go spend that money, but we want you to test with as little money as possible, right? And that's important because that's the way the model will work. And Ellen, I'll get to your question in just a minute, by the way. That's the way the model has to work, is we have to stand our ground on that right now. And then as we build out and we see the number of leads coming in, then we'll offer up and say, hey, we're able to generate this many leads at $990 or $1,000. We'll open it up to agents who want to take over that particular market. But we do want to start with one pod in each market at this point in time. Ellen, what is your question? Go ahead.
It was kind of too long to type, so I just unmuted myself. So I don't know what's happening in other people's market. I'm in the Raleigh-Durham market. There is no inventory. I mean, it's almost like a crisis situation.
Yep.
I just got one under contract. Very lucky. There were 20 offers, and that's some homes are getting even more than that. We have due diligence here. I'm offering 10,000 due diligence on a $150,000 home. I mean, people are paying the seller's closing costs. I mean, things are nuts. So I'm just curious. And because of COVID and a lot of other things, just people just don't want to put their house on the market. And plus, I can't find them another house if they sell the house they're living in. Sure. So I'm just wondering how that affects how you're going to lead generate.
Yeah, I think I live by a set of rules, and one of those rules is there's always business, there's always money to be made, right? And so here's the idea. A lot of the mega agents are also pushing this notion, just like if you're in the stock market, the people that come on TV are the people who are looking to make money by telling you stories, right? And not to say that there's not low inventory. That is a true statement, 100%. What I'm trying to tell you is there's still going to be sellers out there that want to sell. They may not be calling you, or they may not be calling, every agent to tell them that, or yelling at the rooftops, but they are interested in selling. You just need to be able to find them, right? So our job is obviously to go out there and find those folks so that whenever you do put something on the market, you do have 20 buyers, right? And hopefully you start popping some buyers that are also interested in that property. The second part of that is, yes, there are going to be, there's going to be a situation where you're going to have to go find them a property. The best scenario is obviously before they list, that you go find them a property before they actually move. Now, most people are either going to be moving up, which is usually going to be new construction. They're not going to go buy they're not going to sell their new home or their current home to go buy an old home, right? And so that becomes a question of, do you have new construction in your market? So yes, there is an effect there. Just because it is quote unquote low inventory in most markets, it's a question of, can you find your possible seller a home? And that's where you become the real estate agent at the end of the day, right? So I wouldn't put that. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It reminded me that I saw a post from an agent yesterday or the day before that they just had, I guess the seller got an offer and I guess, what was it? The buyer essentially purchased the home and gave them 6 months to find a property to buy. And so, I mean, that's one of the effects, I guess, of this incredible low inventory and extremely high buyer demand, is that, you know, to get something done, the buyers are going to have to be willing to do stuff like that to make it work.
Yeah, that's an awesome point. Yeah, it's called a lease back. I was actually just about to say that, Desiree. So yeah, it's a lease back, right? So, and also to Claudia's point, she says, but even new construction is on a waiting list. So the idea is it doesn't matter in these scenarios if you have the listing, right? If you get the listing agreement, you now own that asset, that house, if you will, that contract, to then start putting your chess pieces in place to capitalize on that. And so for us, we're looking at it the same way. If we can get you these sellers to have conversations with you and you start going to these listing appointments, you now have the opportunity to win the chess match, per se. So you still have options for lease back. You still have options for putting your new construction, your person who wants to buy new construction, on the waiting list to get them a house, and then put the house on the market. So it's not like a question of, can you get listing leads? Can you get listings? It's a question of, are you thinking the way you should be on getting the lead, getting the listing, and then making the plan to get them out of the house so that you can get that contract and hopefully get the contract on the new construction or the new house they're moving into. But you still have options. So at the end of the day, as long as we're getting you the leads, and you're able to go have these conversations, you still own that part of the business. Does that make sense to everybody? Ellen, hopefully that helped you a little bit on that process. So, I think, you know, I did the live yesterday on how to go get free seller leads using your pre-approved buyers, and that's actually one of the things that came up was, you know, somebody said that they're getting leasebacks because they're presenting that to their sellers. Like, hey, just because you sell doesn't mean we can't go find you something. You can still do a leaseback, and most sellers have no idea what a leaseback is, which and this is not a coaching call, but I implore you to go create a video about a leaseback and send it out to people and put it on your Facebook page and your YouTube, because you will make money doing that. The question just came in: if someone doesn't follow up on a lead, does it move to the next person in the pod? No leaseback, FHA or VA. Great point, Bonnie. And not every one of those leads or every buyer is going to be FHA or VA, but good to know for sure. So if somebody doesn't follow up with a lead, so here's one of the things that is on my talking point list, and I want to go over this. If we start having issues with an agent that is not following up their leads, we're just going to kick them out, right? Because here's what happens. And again, you know that I'm upfront and honest, and I'm a very blunt human being. I don't know any other way to be. If we're having problems with something like that, we're going to kick them out, because they're taking money out of somebody else's pocket, opportunities out of somebody else's pocket. And $99 is not a lot of money. But if somebody can close, you know, one of those deals and make, and you do the math in your own market, you know, $3,000 to $20,000 on a deal, and that agent's just sitting back and, you know, taking up the spot. It's like some of these college teams that recruited my brother, they were recruiting him not to play him, they were recruiting him to not play him intentionally, right? Because they knew that if he was on another team, he would wreak havoc on the offense. And so they were trying to recruit him just so that he wouldn't play against them. And so some agents will do that. So we're going to have one of my VAs or a couple of my VAs actually do follow-up. And this is, you know, some of you may agree with this, some of you may not, but it's going to be somewhat of a concierge service and kind of a checks and balances. So we'll have our VA call your leads after we message you and say, hey, were you able to get in touch with so-and-so? And you say yes. Then our VA is going to follow up with that lead, say, hey, we're just calling to see if Stuart had a chance to follow up with you. How did the conversation go? Right. And the point of that is, one, it's going to make you look good if you did your job. Two, it's going to make you look bad if you didn't do your job. And so if you tell us the truth, then there's no problem. And I think a lot of people are afraid to have these conversations because, you know, they don't want to be called out. But at the same time, we're running a business here. I'm not here to be everybody's friend. I'm not here to, you know, hold your hand the entire way. I'm here to make sure that we're helping you grow your business and we're doing the right thing by people and by these possible sellers as well, right? So as human beings go, our job as human beings is to make sure that we're taking care of our families and taking care of people that we could possibly take care of. So does anybody have a problem with our after we check with you to see if you called the lead, to follow up that lead as a concierge service or see any issues with it.
I've seen that process in my business, create opportunities where maybe the agent did follow up and for whatever reason wasn't able to get in touch, and maybe the person saw the text message last week, but for whatever reason didn't connect, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, but have them reach out.
Yeah, and yeah, that'll happen, right? I know some of you will get busy, and different things will happen. So we'll have spot checks, but at the same time, as Ryan said, it could be like, oh, Susie did not follow up with me, and then we message Susie, and I don't know if there's a Susie on this call, and we message Susie and say, Susie, hey, Jim's waiting for you to call, and then Susie calls, and guess what? Now Susie has a listing appointment, right? So the goal is not to, I think as I'm a parent now, Ryan's a parent as well, and a lot of you on this call are parents, is most of your kids think that you're checking on them just to get them in trouble, when the reality is you're trying to make them better, right? It's like, hey, these are rules, these are things in place to make you a better human being. This is kind of how we're looking at this process of doing the spot checks, and also putting a quote unquote concierge service in place, and which will lead into another conversation a little bit later about virtual assistants and that whole process. But what I want to do right now is talk a little bit more about some possible opportunities moving down the road. So is everybody clear on what the process looks like? $99 per agent. You must have 10 agents in your pod before we can get started. If you need us to help you recruit your agents in your market, we'll do that for you. We'll also give you a post if you want to do it yourself, which I don't recommend because you have too many other things going on. And so $99 per agent, must have 10 agents in a pod, referral fee on the back end. You'll sign a contract. Your broker will sign a contract, right? Just like OpCity did, just to make sure we're protecting ourselves, we're protecting you. Everybody will have a copy of the contract before you have to sign it. Of course, we'll make sure that you get to look at that before you just blindly sign the contract. And that's kind of what the process looks like right now. And then leads will go out and round robin to your pod of 10 agents, and then we'll do spot checks. That's like the very blanket statement of what it looks like. Bree says, how big of an area will the pod cover? Ryan, do you want to cover that particular question?
So I would say the simple answer is that we can target down to a 15-mile radius or a county. And in terms of markets that are where the overall market is bigger than a county or a 15-mile radius, then we might say, all right, there's sub-markets within a market. I mean, if you take LA Metro, like, you could consider that to include Orange County and stuff, but like, we're not going to cover LA County and Orange County and all those counties in there in one pod, because that like, somebody doesn't want to drive from San Bernardino to Huntington Beach. And so in terms of the markets, I think one of the things we'll be looking at is just what is the to help you out for everyone in that pod, what does it look like, commute wise, to even get to a seller in that area? Like, we don't want to just throw a 15-mile radius on something and then you've got a mountain range between your listings. So I've been doing this all over the country for quite a while, and we will ensure that the geography of the pod makes sense for the members in that pod.
Bree, hopefully I answered your question. Stuart asked, what's the time frame for basically having this all built out and ready to go? We have some of the stuff built out on the back end, but the purpose of this call, Stuart, is to make sure we have it built out, not just for us, but also thinking about the way you guys want the interaction to be, in which we'll talk about the back end. Now, thank you, Ryan, for answering Bree's question. So what we're looking at is the leads will probably come to you via text message right now. And as those leads come over to you via text message, we will also place them probably in a CRM and probably a Google Sheet just for storage. They'll be your leads, they'll be your people, you can put them on newsletters and things like that. That way we can just track and say, okay, we have the data on what this entire process looks like throughout the country in these different markets. And we'll probably also give you access to a CRM where these leads will be if you want to do some automated text messaging and things like that. But that'll be something for later that we'll discuss in more detail, Stuart. But that's kind of the purpose of this call, is to make sure that we are building things the way we want, you as agents want them built out, not the way we think it should be built out. Let's see. Central Florida includes Orlando and other counties like Kissimmee. Laura says, I own a brokerage of 70 agents. I would like to do 2 pods in my area. Awesome. Yeah, we'll have some brokerages and some teams that will probably take up an entire pod. Anyone in South Florida area, can they come in on a bot? Jerry, yes, we can send them. It'll be automated stuff. So we can even automate some text messages, but we'll talk more in detail and follow up and stuff like that, because Ryan has some really key things that he's been testing that will probably help out with the getting the sellers actually interested. Bonnie says, team has questions if there are statistics to support how this works. Maybe Ryan has that. Ryan, I don't know if you, I don't know what statistics they want.
So
or asking.
stats in terms of, yeah, I mean, I've got more data and stats and analysis than any reasonable person would ever want to look at. So
awesome. Yeah, so Bonnie, if you have any specific questions, if your team has questions about stats, they can probably send them over to Ryan and get you some information on stats. Let's see. Stuart says, when you say contract, is there a time link component to that as well, or is it month to month? Right now, what I'm going to ask people to commit to at a minimum is 3 months. I mean, $99 at 3 months comes out to, let's call it $100 per month, $300, right? I think that's a somewhat reasonable amount of time to be able to test your market and see what things look like. I think a lot of people get into things and go month to month or go in a month. And it really is not enough time to truly test something out. Especially with such a small ad spend, right? So we'll look at probably 3-month contract at a minimum, and then beyond that, hopefully we can continue to prove to you in your market. If it doesn't work out, that's fine, but we want to make sure we give it enough time. Brian, is that enough time to truly see if leads are coming in and what that could look like?
yeah, I mean, that's enough time to get if not get a listing, at least get stuff in your pipeline and have a good feel for what's going on.
Awesome. And so Lewis says, will these leads be scrubbed? These leads are not going to be scrubbed for $99, guys. Again, I'm going to be blunt. Like $99 is not a lot of money. If you want your leads scrubbed, and so this is going to lead to the next point. In the future, we may have a virtual assistant come in, and that'll probably be an extra fee down the road. But again, we're going to keep it as basic as we possibly can. The leads are going to come to you raw. They're going to be seller leads. They're not going to be buyer leads. And I know I can get passionate about stuff, so I don't want Lewis. I don't want you to think that I'm angry about anything. But the leads for $99 are just going to come straight to you, right? And then in the future, if we need to do some scrubbing and things like that, we'll have more of these calls so that we can get feedback from you. Because for me and Ryan, it's not about running off into the sunset with this money and doing all that fun stuff. It's like, how can we improve the system to get it to a point where everybody is having success? And we're never going to make everybody happy, but our goal is to make sure that we're doing everything we can to continue to improve the system. So if it gets to the point of, hey, Jerry's too busy, or Ida's too busy to follow up with their leads, and they want to add somebody to scrub them, then we'll look at pricing for that particular process, right? We'll probably bring in a VA per pod if that's the case, and then we'll create pricing that matches that particular pod. Because if you're closing deals, then adding somebody to scrub those leads is not going to be a huge cost. We won't make money until the back end, so we'll have to charge money up front to make that work. So Lewis, hopefully I answered your question.
And I guess to add to that, you know, I'm constantly testing and looking at different ways to improve the quality of leads before they ever get to real human contact. I have all sorts of tools and things that I use to validate different pieces of info. And so as we move forward, anything that I determine is going to be helpful is something that we can talk to the pod about. And because the reality is, if you scrubbing leads is not about getting more quality leads, it's about removing poor quality leads. And so if you have a bucket of 100, qualification and scrubbing and validating information and all of that stuff is about eliminating stuff from the bucket. And so you got to think about it as, and sometimes this shocks clients that I have when they want real follow-up and qualification services on leads. It's like, okay, cool. Where are you at? Dallas. All right. You're at $300 a lead. Right. And they're like, wait, what? Like, yeah, because I had to eliminate a massive number of leads to get there.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people don't understand that, right? It's whenever you start eliminating certain things from the leads that come in, and you're trying to go into verifying phone numbers, you're trying to go into verifying emails, then what typically will happen is the cost obviously goes up because you're disqualifying people, right? And so that's why we look at a longer process of 3 months as being the thing that we're looking to accomplish. Because let's say that you eliminate 30% of your leads. Now your lead cost has gone, or your leads have gone down by 30%, but your cost per acquisition has gone up by 30%. And so if you do math, if you can do basic math or statistics, then you understand that every time you eliminate a lead, your cost per lead actually increases. Does that make sense to everybody? I think, Ryan, is that how you're describing that?
Yeah, exactly. Basically the more you filter stuff out, then it at the equal level, like remove lead volume, price goes up. The more you eliminate leads and disqualify them, the more everything you have left costs.
Yeah, perfect. And so Patrick asked a question: is everyone familiar with the OpCity model? I don't know, Patrick, are you asking that because you're not familiar with it, or are you asking it because you want to make sure everybody is? Just to clarify there.
Well, just so that they can compare what you're proposing to what that model it looks like.
Pat, do you want to explain it? You want to explain it to everybody really quick, if you don't mind?
Sure. I joined OpCity about 2.5 years ago. I'm a broker in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The SOI that I had at the time was extremely small because I had just moved to the Albuquerque area within 4 years previous to that. So I was trying to do anything as a new agent that I could to get lead generation. And so the OpCity model is absolutely no money monthly, but there is a 35 in the Albuquerque metro. There's a 35% fee at closing, and you also pay them 35% of whatever the brokerage received in gross receipts tax. So I had quite a bit of success with OpCity. I do like this idea, and I just think that I think the seller potential, because as you all stated, the buyers potentially is just one transaction. Sometimes you would have a buyer and a seller. One of the deals I closed did have a sale and a buy side, but guess what? I paid 35% of each. Whereas if the 35% came from a seller lead, this wouldn't be concerned with what they bought. That would just be me, all 100%. So I see a lot of good potential here. I have closed 2.5 million with OpCity, and I am the number two broker in the I guess New Mexico or the Southwest for OpCity. It's been very expensive, and since it's been purchased by Realtor.com, if you also happen to have some money invested with Realtor.com to get potential buyer leads, I will tell you that in my situation, my buyer lead quality has decreased since Realtor.com purchased OpCity, because I think that those, as you guys just were talking about, good scrubbed leads that would come in through those operators actually speaking to potential buyers on the telephone, if they were looking pretty strong, in my opinion, they were being immediately fed to OpCity side versus pinged out on a Realtor.com application to those Realtor.com agents who had paid for lead gen in whatever zip code. So that's just kind of some highlights. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing so much, Pat. I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, so the model is pretty simple. As we look at it, yes, on the OpCity side, you didn't pay anything up front, but you're paying a pretty good, significant, hefty fee on the back end, right? And then, as Pat said, on the broker side of things as well. One thing that I think a lot of people are not clear on is, where do you guys think OpCity was getting their leads? Does anybody know?
Movoto.
That's one place. Anybody else? Okay, so that doesn't sound like a lot of people know. They're basically getting their leads. Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, this is top secret and can't be leaked, but I've seen a spreadsheet of all of their lead sources and all of the conversion data by lead source and all that, because I hired 2 guys from OpCity.
So what I think, and I haven't seen that, so I guess I can say some things about it, Ryan. So essentially, they were buying the leads the same place you were, right? So it's like the same model that Zillow has built out, except instead of just being Zillow, they were buying the leads that you were buying from all the same places, including Zillow, and then reselling them back to you, right? And so you have to think about that process, and it's somewhat comical as a business owner, and really crappy for you as a real estate agent to know that, because as Pat just stated, those leads that were coming in, where do you think the good leads go to? Well, you think that a company who is getting paid more by certain agents is not going to send more business or better leads to those folks? You'd be out of your mind to not think that, right? And so what we're doing here is we're hopefully creating an even playing field that allows you to all be on the same level. Now, I know some of you have more money than others, and some of you have less money. And so for us as a company, this is something that's going to allow us to even the playing field for everyone. And so that, if somebody comes in, like Laura just asked, hey, if I want to buy my own pod, then yes, she can buy her own pod, but the leads are still going to come from the same place. We're not going to give, quote unquote, Laura priority. She's just going to get more leads because she's spending her own money. And so that's another part of this idea that hopefully that you guys can, to really think about is everybody's going to get the same type of leads. Right. And so the only difference is if you pay more money for your lead generation, you're going to get more leads. And so I hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Another factor here that I guess is the situation with OpCity. It's a situation with Zillow and the way that they're handling moving to referral model stuff, is that if with what we're doing, we're trying to give everyone a shot at converting stuff. Whereas like it might sound nice on the surface to not pay anything and be like, cool, I'll sign up to get free leads on a referral basis. But I know for a fact and am friends with brokers who control 90% of the referral fee volume for Zillow for their market. Why? Because their conversion with Zillow on the paid lead services were higher than everyone else. And so everyone else is basically stuck fighting over 10% of the market share.
Does that make sense to everyone? Basically, the more you pay, the more you get, right? It's kind of like being a lobbyist, and we won't get into politics, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I hope this model makes sense to everyone. Does this, as we look at this, and I'm going to hit some highlights for later on, things that we're thinking about, again, keeping it simple, but is this something that you're interested in, right? There's a reason that you're joining this call, but is this something you're interested in? We're not billing anybody today or anything like that, but I just want to make sure that this is a process as we build it out, that we have enough interest in to continue building it out. Tony says, join late, but need to get the recap. Okay. And
Tony,
does anybody
I haven't talked to you in ages?
Desiree says, yes, Houston market. Awesome. And does $99 seem like a good price point? Bonnie says yes. That's another question, because I want to make sure that that number makes sense. So we're getting all yeses. And so as these yeses come in, my next question is, says, no doubt. Awesome. Yes. I'm tired of buyer side. I'm tired of buyer side. Yeah, a lot of agents. I enjoyed the buyer side whenever I was actually selling, but I'm also a glutton for punishment sometimes. So, the next part of this is, as we build this out, so we'll continue building it out, and we'll obviously get this call to other people so they can watch this call later on, and I'll create a video later on as well, with more information for everybody to share to their different agents. But I'm excited about it. I think this is something that, everybody uses this word revolutionize and do all this stuff. I don't want to say revolutionize the market, but I think that it's just going to even the playing field for everyone and give everybody an opportunity to go out and get listings at a very small fee. And that's going to allow you to do better things in your life. And anytime we work on something, Ryan and I specifically, it's yes, we get to make a living off of doing it, and that's the great part. But we also get to help other people do things. Pay your mortgage, pay for your kids' college, pay for if you're single, pay for your vacations, whatever you're doing, right? And so for me, that's the blessing in disguise in this entire process, is how do we continue to improve people's lives by not going out and charging them an absorbent amount of money every single month, but still being able to make a living for ourselves. And so that's this process that I look at as the blessing in disguise for myself. And I think Ryan probably feels the same way. It'll go a really long way if we do this the right way. Looks like Tony says, especially with low inventory, buyer side is tougher. Absolutely. Stuart says, have you determined what the referral fee is yet? You said 25 to 35%. Which way are you leaning? So right now, Stuart, to answer your question, I've got some feedback from other agents that I've messaged or have messaged me directly. This is what they've said. And you guys can tell me what your thoughts are. I wrote down 25 to 35%. They said 30% under 100K and 35% if it's over 150K. Does anybody have any thought or feedback on that particular number?
Hey, Joseph, Patrick.
What OpCity does, it's actually 30% under 150 and then 35 for above 150. I mean, and I think it would fluctuate with the market, what the average median price is. I don't know if you guys can do that per market, or if you just want to have it, total nationwide, or whatever you guys want to do. I know Veterans United does the same thing. They have a flat fee of 30% for their, it's mostly buyer leads, but every once in a while you'll get a double-ended seller and they're selling something and buying something. So Typically, Veterans United will do just one side. Like if they're selling a house, you don't have to pay them on the 30% on the seller side, but not a new house they're buying. So I think 150 would be the benchmark for most markets.
I know the last time I looked at the HomeLight referral contract, it was every transaction in which the lead was party to the transaction up to 2 years. So let's say they sold, listed and sold, and then bought a home with you and then bought another home as an investment, you're paying referral fees on everything that happens.
Yeah, and you're supposed to pay OpCity all that stuff, especially with like, even if they're a family member that came from somebody. I mean, they try to get you into that contract. I haven't seen them really go after anybody on extra deals from that same, human being.
Some of that's hard to track, but they're definitely trying to get at everything they can put their hands on.
Absolutely.
I don't think we'll go into that depth of things. I think again,
I don't think we're calling your uncle asking if he or calling the lead's uncle asking if they bought.
Yeah, our hope is that you increase your margins by closing more deals from referrals, right? And so obviously that makes you more of a long-term client for us. Pat, you look like you wanted to say something as well to the model.
No, I think that 35% is, at least in this market, the OpCity model. So if you guys are doing the 35%, and he was exactly right, same way, anything above 150, 35%, anything below 150K, 30%. And so, and I understand you're trying to build this out, and it's going to be a little bit different because it's seller side, but to truly, sort of beat the OpCity model, maybe 25 and 30 is the right place, or 28 and 32 or something.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's something Ryan and I will definitely discuss in more detail. Again, as we look at this, we want to make it as profitable as we possibly can for everybody. Obviously, still being able to run the company on the back end of things, especially since we know it's probably going to take at least 3 months for us to start seeing closings with you all. So we got to have a little bit of, hope for us to be able to see these things come into play, and continue to keep us motivated. So we'll look at that process, and again, I think beating OpCity on these things is going to be, have to keep in mind that they're doing buyer side, we're looking at doing seller side. So I think we'll have a leg up on that end. It's just making sure that we're doing it right by the agents at the end of the day. A couple of things. Well, 35% in Cali is nothing under 100K. Yeah, some of you are not going to have under 100K. It's just not possible. And some of you won't have under 150. So you'll just be stuck at the, whatever percentage, 28 to 30% or whatever that comes out to be. And so that's just, part of the game. So for $99, I hopefully, that works out in your position. Tamara says
the 99. I got lost. I got late. What was the $99?
Yeah, Tony. So it's going to be $99. Pods of 10 agents in each market. So that gives us about $1,000 of marketing money. Leads will go out to each agent and a round robin. There's nobody that's going to get special incentives or anything like that. Leads come directly to you. So the $99 is essentially just the marketing dollars as a pod of 10 agents. And the agents can be from
same brokerage, or does it? You're gonna try to get different brokerages with different people or whatever.
Different brokerages, different people. You don't even have to know each other. None of that stuff has to be. That's not the important part. The part is that we're just sending the leads to everybody, and we have the marketing dollars to get them out to everyone.
But if I own my own.
Oh, Tony, you got muted.
Sorry, Tony, I accidentally muted you. Go ahead.
So I was going to say, if I own my own brokerage with 17 agents, if I had 9 other agents or 10 other agents opt in, hey guys, you want to do this $99 a month? Here it is. We can just control that market share, or no?
Yes, you can. Yeah, as a group of 10, yes, you can. As a single agent, we don't want that to be the case, right? But sure, if you have yeah, perfect question.
Okay.
Yeah, because Laura asked that question earlier as well, but I think Laura, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you were asking as a single agent, but if you have a brokerage or a team of 10, absolutely, you can buy that out for your team. Okay. Tamara says, as you grow, you could increase for the newer pods. Yeah, as we grow, here's the thing too. So this is going to hopefully lead to the final thoughts on this process, so you can all get to your families and stuff. But there are things that we're thinking about for the future, and Ryan actually made the statement, and then it was brought up on another call that I was on with some agents. That was, what if I decide to bring my lender in? And so Ryan's statement was, your lender could come in and sponsor the group. Now, what that means is they would probably come in and match the ad spend that is being spent. So let's say it's $990, and they would come in and match $990 or $1,000 flat to help you generate seller leads. What that would mean is for that month or whatever allotted amount of time, because we want to give everybody opportunity to be a part of it, that would allow them to see you later, Laura. See you later, Alejandro. Good luck on your final walkthrough. That would allow your loan officer to get leads from each of these agents, because they're all in the same market. And that's kind of one of the intentions, is that why we have everybody in the same market is because on the lender side of things, if a lender can come in and for that month get all your buyer leads from the pod, that's an opportunity to get leads from 10 different agents. And now your other loan officer might be butthurt, excuse the language, but they're going to have to get over that, because if another lender's coming in and sponsoring the group, that's going to allow you to get more leads. Now, we don't know when we'll implement that yet. We haven't decided on that process. I know Ryan brought it up, and I thought it was a fantastic idea. But in regard to keeping things simple to start off with, we'll start off with the marketing budget. And then if we say, okay, this particular market needs more money to spend to get more leads, then I think that might be something that we'll discuss on how to weave that into the process. But I thought it was a fantastic idea by Ryan. Ryan, I don't know if you want to elaborate on that anymore or have further thoughts.
No, not really. Just I think that creates opportunity to increase lead flow for everyone, get a lender involved, and then we just have to take a look at exactly what the execution looks like on that, and make sure that that it's the right lender fit, and that that the agents are priority number one, and the lender is really just getting an opportunity to build relationships with agents. And then in terms of lead flow, ultimately we'll just have to see over time what kind of lead volume we can get out of different markets for the pod, and if every pod member down the line at some point wanted to agreed to contribute more money to raise lead volume, and the market can support that, then that might be something that we allow in the future.
Do you guys have a white paper, or so I can explain this to different agents, or how y'all going to market, I guess, this?
Not yet, Tony. We'll probably create a video, and then probably from there create a document. Didn't want to push out a whole bunch of information yet until excuse me, until we had conversations with you all as agents first, and agents that we're connected with or know us in some way, to make sure we kind of have the idea pushed out the way that we think that you want it, and then we'll put something together for you. But as far as time frame for getting that, I'll probably have something ready for you next week. Ryan and I will discuss a little bit more to make sure we're on the same page, and we're happy with the model. We feel like the agents are happy with the model, and then we'll push something out within probably the next week.
All right, thanks.
Absolutely. I hit all my talking points that I wanted to hit. I'm going to open it up for a little bit more Q&A. Ryan, is there anything you want to hit before we open it up to Q&A?
I don't believe so. I think one of the things that is going to end up being a topic of discussion is just the pod coverage area by market, and the different factors. And that's something where I'm the one who typically is looking at the data on target audiences and markets, and what markets make sense. And so that's just something where the size geographically, as well as the population for that market, will be considered, and then discuss with the members of the pod to establish what the right area is.
Yeah, so you guys aren't doing like a Zillow where it's a zip code. You're more doing like an OpCity where it's a radius. Like, okay, here's the center of the city, and 10 miles, 15 miles radius or something like that. Correct?
Right. And so where we, how we handle that will be a combination of me running the data as well as collaborating with the agents in the pod.
Awesome. So let's open it up to any final questions before we get rocking and rolling out of here. I want to open it up for a few minutes to make sure we answer questions. Make sure, is there something missing that you're hoping that would be added to this particular program? And so we'll open it up now, and I'll look at you can unmute yourself, or you can type in the chat if you don't want to be someone that speaks out loud. Let's see. It says, are you going are you going by agent experience also? What do you mean whenever you ask that? Are you saying in regard to if they're going to get more leads, or I guess that's a question.
OpCity, you have to do 3 transactions as an emerging agent unless you can prove that you've done more than 7 outside of the OpCity model. So they want you to vet, basically they want you to earn your stripes as a new agent, so you don't mess up their leads. Like, you're going to follow up. You're not going to just, waste the lead and click on a button. So, if if you're in a pod and you get a seller lead that's, 150,000 or hell, 300,000, whatever the number is, making sure you're going to follow through, market it right, and then get it ultimately sold. So people understand that they're not going to, mess things up for the other 9 agents who are in that pod, basically.
Got it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we'll follow that model. Definitely not initially. I think we want as many people as we can get into these different pods. And Tony, you missed this conversation earlier, and I guess My Smith, I guess it's My Smith, Florida realtor. What we'll do is we'll have a virtual assistant actually do like a concierge service and follow up with those leads to see, after we say, hey, did you follow up with this lead within 24 hours? Or we may just follow up with them ourselves in 24 hours to say, hey, Mrs. So-and-so, did Tony call you? We want to make sure that they're offering great service, right? So I don't think we'll do it by agent experience in the beginning. That may be something that Ryan and I discussed down the road, but at least in the beginning, we want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to work their business. And then, I think that over time, those agents who don't do their job will be the ones who don't do their job, and so they'll have to get out of the pod anyway.
And there's a natural filter effect that happens doing it this way versus the way they're doing it, since they're not requiring anything up front. They have to really look at other factors, whereas if an agent is not following up with leads, if they're not handling things in such a way that they're going to earn someone's business and make money, then why keep paying $99 a month?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there'll definitely be a natural filter out on a lot of this stuff too, and that's just like our business in general, right? As a real estate, being in the real estate industry, people filter themselves out. Actually, that's in all businesses in life. And anyway, I'm not going to get too crazy on this, but Stuart says, will the lead be made aware that Joe Realtor is going to be reaching out to them, so they know to expect it from this particular source? They may be filling out info on 4 different sites ads and not sure which one Stuart is calling from. Ryan, do you want to hit that particular question?
So with the initial way that we're handling this, they'll just be kind of a more basic expectation and not, an agent specific expectation, because there just isn't they're essentially the short answer is probably not initially, but I'm constantly working on back-end systems that might provide a way for that to happen. One of the things I've been working on, and it's just a difficult problem to solve, is is auto, like I do a ton of group text intros manually for clients, and a way to automate that group text intro to where you're receiving a group text intro to with a lead. But that's something that may take a little bit of time on the engineering side to put together the right way.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that, Ryan and I have been chatting, and Ryan works on some of the systems that he's been utilizing and testing for quite some time. We use a program called Go High Level, which is we can give everyone that joins us access to, that could also automate some of the text messages or intros as well. Or as we continue to look forward in this process, without divulging too much information, having a virtual assistant do the group text if needed. We'll just have to look at that process and see what systems will allow us to do that. But again, as Ryan just stated, that'll be something that's a little bit more future side of things, and probably costs a little bit more. But it's not like we'll just spring that on you and say, hey, everybody has to pay this amount of money, right? It's like, hey, this is something we're considering. What markets want to test that out to make sure that's it's a right fit. Bonnie says, might be good if the group gets a quick highlight of who Ryan is. Ryan, you want to give a highlight of who you are?
Yeah, I'm a random dude that Joseph found as a fill-in for this Zoom call. The real Ryan was busy. No, I own and operate a seller-focused lead generation company, and it was called Referral Rail. It's currently called Home Rail, and I service mostly large teams in different markets, and it's exclusively seller side, and so all of my focus for several years has been seller lead generation and conversion focused, and also running data on outcome auditing, so that I have conversion data and can track outcomes and figure out what's working and what's not, and what's converting. And so and then back when we first got started, me and Joseph taught school together, and started an educational technology company, and ran that together for a while, and then got into marketing and real estate marketing specifically together, and have been partnered up in various capacities for I guess probably 5 years on the marketing stuff.
Yeah, we've been dating for a really long time at this point. It's international.
Joseph keeps breaking up with me, and then we get back together.
Yeah, Ryan and I have known each other since what's that, 2012-ish, I guess, Ryan, at this point?
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So so we've known each other for a long time, and I think we're both self-proclaimed nerds, and always interested in solving problems in different industries and different markets. We've done SEO for different companies. We've done lead generation for insurance. We helped a company get sold for millions of dollars by doing some SEO work for them. That was a really interesting project that Ryan brought to the table. That was pretty fun and fast, I think. And so anyway, we're always interested in disrupting and solving problems. And so I think we're both fortunate that we have different strengths and skill sets, but always looking to solve problems the best way we can by bringing our skills together. So I think this is one of the big problems that we're trying to attack right now, which is, everybody does buyer leads. Not a lot of people know how to do seller leads, and I think we can, somewhat disrupt this market and do it the right way. So Ryan, thanks for your intro, by the way, to everybody.
Let me get back to
What's that?
Does that mean we're getting back together?
Yeah, we're getting back together. Yes, Ryan, by the way. So Desiree says, how do we secure our post or our spot, I guess, since we will begin marketing to more agents? So give me by the end of the week, Desiree, if you want to secure your spot, just post in the Facebook group, hey, interested, hold my spot for me. We'll get billing out. But before we even get billing out, I want to get the white sheet as Tony requested, and then a video built out so that you can get it to other agents. So whenever you're trying to talk about it, you may miss some points because that's just how it's going to happen. That's how it happens for all of us. You can send them to the video so they can see it, right? Don't hold my spot here, post it in the Facebook chat group so that my VAs can see it there because they won't see it here. And then, yeah, I'll get the white letter out to everybody, white sheet out to everybody, and then I'll get a video done so that you can share that with other agents. And then at that point, we'll reach out to you and also start, helping you recruit agents in your market. Tamara says, which group? It's going to be the OpCity seller group, by the way, the chat group, to message in there to hold your spot. And sounds like somebody already posted in there. Awesome. So again, I'm really excited about this process. I'm really excited about what we have the opportunity to do. I'm really excited that, a lot of times agents are in competition with each other, and this is going to allow agents to work together to take on these bigger companies. And, I think whenever, let's call it a couple of years from now, when Ryan and I maybe walk away from this will be agent owned, right? Agents will own this. It'll be something that you all will be able to get to make decisions on, rather than having, I don't even know if I should say this out loud, I don't want to get sued, but have NAR, which is, makes their money through affiliated companies like Zillow, making decisions for you, right? So, as we look at bigger vision, that's kind of my vision for this process. Thank you. I may have some agents interested. Yeah, I think there will be a lot of agents interested. So the quicker you hold your spot, and this is not a sales statement, the quicker you hold your spot, the better opportunity it's going to give us to market for you and get your pod built out. Any final questions before we jump off this call? I know I've held you all captive now for about an hour. All right, I don't see any final questions coming in. I greatly appreciate all your time. Ryan, thank you so much for joining as well and giving your input and knowledge to this. And I will see you all in the chat group. I'll pass out the information there. May you all have a blessed evening and go spend time with your family, your loved ones, your spouses, all that fun stuff. And we'll catch you guys and gals on the next call. Bye, everyone.
All right, thanks.
Bye.